down. Let's make it our business. A climate podcast that's about innovators, change makers, and entrepreneurs who are taking actions, creating solutions, and inspiring many. This podcast is supported by US Department of State, created by BBC Media Action, India.
One way we all know we can cool it down is by switching off appliances, light bulbs, cars and more when we are not using them. But today, I'm asking you to switch on to this podcast to do the same. Because we have with us amazing guests who I promise will leave you energized by showing you the connection between climate change and our household energy consumption, along with ideas on how to make our homes more energy efficient. My name is Saima and I welcome you to yet another episode of Cool It Down, where we make it our business to find simple, doable climate positive solutions. Joining me today is Madhura Joshi, a senior associate with E3G. Her work focuses on low carbon energy transition. We'll also be joined by Sishir Garemella, who heads the International Business Development for PV Evolution Labs. Shishir has years of experience in solar-powered energy solutions. He works to make them relevant for local populations while keeping an eye on the global context of sustainable forms of energy. Hi Madhura and welcome to this podcast. We call it Cool It Down because that's what we intend to do with our interesting conversations around climate challenges. And I'm so happy that you've joined us today. I'd start right away. You're a senior associate on energy transition. Can you help us understand what energy transition is and why is it important in today's context?
It's such a pleasure to speak with you and the listeners, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. So what is energy transitions? In simple terms, it means moving away from a fossil fuel-based economy, which includes coal, oil, gas, to a clean energy-based or a renewable energy-based system, which includes solar, wind, storage, and more. All of this also entails looking at first, which energy is supplied, second, how energy is consumed. And this includes across sectors such as households, industries, transport, building, construction, waste, agriculture, essentially whole of the economy.
Right.
A critical piece of this is energy efficiency, which is often called the first fuel of economic development, and behavioral change also plays a really important role. The third one, as a part of the energy transitions, I want to also emphasize is ensuring just transitions. This entails ensuring that people whose livelihoods are lost or are dependent on fossil fuel sectors, communities around are not left behind, making provisions for social safety nets, skill development, alternate employment, developing alternate investment plans for the local and regional economy all become a part of energy transitions. All this while ensuring that transitions are affordable, supply is sufficient to meet growing needs, and importantly, secure as well.
Right.
Why is this important? Sorry, before I jump into this, I know that the first answer is going to be really long. So let me know if I should continue with the next.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely explain why is it important.
Okay. So this is going to be a little long, but it is, why is it important? The window of opportunity for the world to keep global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius over the pre-industrial levels is rapidly closing. According to the World Meteorological Department, the world temporarily breached 1.5 degrees Celsius in 2023. Current pledges on climate action still put the world on a beyond 2-degree pathway. When we think about temperatures, a difference of half a degree Celsius may not mean much to someone sitting in the house or someone sitting in the sun.
Right.
But in terms of how much warming we are subjecting the planet to, it could mean many million more people are subjected to life-threatening climate events. Just this year alone, we've seen protracted, intense heat waves with temperatures touching nearly 50 degrees in several northern parts of India.
That's right.
Floods ravaging in Assam and Kerala. So science tells us that the production and consumption of fossil fuels is one of the primary contributors to climate change. Hence, it is critical to accelerate efforts to enable just clean energy transitions while ensuring adaptation for climate impacts that have already set in also takes place. The good news is that a lot of efficient clean energy solutions that are needed to enable these transitions are already within reach. They're competitive or often cheaper than fossil options. They also accrue long-term benefits such as reduced pollution and consequently better health, better environment. And we talk about efficient appliances, energy and monetary savings. They also can help boost energy security for a country in the long run.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So I would say that in today's time, this becomes one of the critical things that we all need to work towards.
So, Madhura, you are emphasizing and re-emphasizing on energy efficiency together with energy transition. Now, I'm sure, some of our listeners, they might be hands-on with these terms, but if we have to look at the micro level, like, in the localized units, in my house, how do I understand this?
That's a great question. Individual choices actually have tremendous potential to affect change. And I think the change is both for individual, you will see benefits in your own sort of household, as well as, all of these individual actions contribute to a much larger impact. Something as simple as our choice for lights and fans can have a tremendous impact.
I see.
Let's take an example of a fan. Traditional fans, which are not star rated or not efficient, consume between 50 to 75 watts of electricity.
Okay.
Whereas a 5-star BLDC fan can use as little as 28 units.
Oh,
Now we can see over here itself that it's almost half
that's interesting.
of what a traditional fan will consume. This basically also means that if you were to use both fans similarly, maybe for 12 hours a day, both fans are running, if we were to sort of look at maybe a 5 rupees electricity tariff, using a 5-star BLDC fan for 12 hours every day a month will lead to a saving of about 1,000 rupees compared to a traditional fan. And you'll see the difference in the electricity bill itself.
Very interesting.
These savings can also help recover the costs of upgrading to a new efficient fan in just a couple of years. The more you use, the quicker the recovery of the cost will be. To be honest, I've also seen this myself as, in my own house as a renter as well. Before I knew a lot more about energy efficiency, this was a term that I had heard of, but not really experienced in my real life. I've been a renter for a very long time. And in one of my houses, I had a really old AC, which would break down quite often. The use was not that often. I would not, use it as much because the electricity bill impact was quite high. And I didn't want to spend the money to upgrade. When I finally bit the bullet and bought myself a 5-star AC, because by now I had learned about energy efficiency and I tried to get the best that I could within the budget that I had,
right,
I actually noticed an impact in my electricity bill, which were a few thousand rupees cheaper compared to what I was with an older AC with increased usage. So these sort of options have an immediate impact by yourself. You just have to be mindful about also noticing these changes in the electricity bill. And when feasible, such options definitely help. What is definitely needed is awareness, both of the consumers, shopkeepers, ease of access at the point of sale, but also when it comes to after-sale repair services, and financial solutions for those who may find it difficult to make that large upfront payment or the higher upfront payment that this may require. And it can definitely help in contributing to a larger change.
So, Madhura, this is very interesting because you're talking about, we need to make conscious choices. We need to be aware of certain things. You are saying that an individual, if he or she actually approaches the concept of energy efficiency in a conscious manner, these individual actions can lead to big changes. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes, individual actions definitely have a really large impact. If you sort of look at the domestic and residential sector, it has the second highest share in India's electricity consumption at about 26%. It's second to just the industry sector.
Wow.
This is projected to further increase because of a combination of factors such as rising aspirations, climate-linked impacts such as heat waves, and as more people also start consuming more electricity. It the contribution over here is also several individuals using energy, which is then contributing to a larger share in the electricity basket. But to use examples of how energy efficiency can help, and building on the energy efficient appliances example itself, the government has a program called Ujala program that promotes efficient lights and fans for households. This program has distributed or sold over 360 million LED bulbs, over 7.2 million LED tube lights, and over 2.5 million efficient fans. This has resulted in energy savings of 48 billion kilowatt hours per year.
Wow.
This is enough to power over 7 million average European households for a year. And the savings that were accrued for sort of customers in electricity bills was also about 190 billion rupees. So you can see how individual choices, something as simple as lights and bulb, can have such a huge impact. When we look at the carbon dioxide savings as well, the savings from this program are estimated to be around 40 million tons per year. This is equivalent to nearly 660 million trees seedlings grown for 10 years. In the absence of these energy efficiency measures, the country would need a lot more supply to meet existing demand, spend more on consuming the same or even lesser amount of electricity. There have been several interesting surveys that have been done that show that oftentimes lower income households that have households that have few but inefficient appliances end up spending more in their electricity bill compared to households that may have more number of appliances but all of them efficient. Improving energy efficiency both at a household and economic level makes financial sense and definitely helps the climate.
It's so good to hear that. It's so empowering to hear that, an individual by his or her actions towards energy efficiency can actually make such a big difference. Really, really feels good. I feel that, I can actually do something to cool it down. Madhura, you spoke about a lot of appliances these days with star ratings. And actually, it's not just star ratings. There are so many things attached to the marketing of that product. I want you to tell us a simple thumb rule for, consumers to follow so that we can choose the more sustainable, more energy efficient option.
So I think when it comes to appliances, to be honest, star rating is the best way to compare. Star ratings emerged from a Bureau of Energy Efficiency's Standards and Labeling program that started in about 2009. It started with a few appliances and now the list has grown significantly. In fact, their website is also quite helpful in showing which are the appliances that have a mandatory star rating, which have voluntary star rating, and some sort of helpful guides on also searching for appliances.
Okay.
So what should the consumers look out for? First, when affordable and options exist, look for a 5-star rated appliance or go for the next highest star rated one that's within budget. Then to look out for a few more things. First is to see when was the star rating given. These ratings are updated by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency periodically.
Okay.
And they have an impact. Every rating upgrade means that the appliance is more efficient. For example, a fridge with a 5-star rating in say 2022 or 23 will be a lot more efficient than a similar fridge with a 5-star rating from say 2018 or earlier. Also see how many units of energy the appliance is consuming. All of this is really clearly marked on the label. And several household appliances such as fridges, fans, ACs, washing machines, televisions, and many more have star labeling now very clearly. There are about 16 appliances that have mandatory star rating and another 22 that have voluntary star rating. I'll add a couple of additional things because we're talking about cooling it down. Air conditioners are also becoming, sometimes in a lot of cases, a necessity with rising temperatures.
That's right.
So when you're looking to buy an air conditioner, in addition to a star rating, also check for the refrigerant that is used. And where possible, opt for the super efficient AC that has the R32 refrigerant, which is used. This has almost a 700 lower global warming potential compared to the ones that are more prevalent refrigerants available in the market.
I see.
I would suggest doing a little bit of online research first to look at what are the different companies that are giving you options, what are the options available as well, so that you can make a better informed choice when you finally make that purchase.
It's so nice that you're breaking it down for us so that we can cool it down. But Madhura, other than buying and replacing appliances with the ones that have better ratings, what are other energy efficient action that we can take as individuals and as households to make our efforts add to the larger cause of, cooling it down?
Absolutely. I think household appliance upgrade itself is a great first step for those who can do it. I am definitely a big advocate and I'm trying to encourage and support at least my family around to make similar choices, especially if they're considering new switches. But a few other actions that can definitely help. Um, I'll list a few different ones, some in the broader energy efficiency or efficiency umbrella, and some that are more, that can help with improving our choices to support reducing climate impacts. And these range from easy, accessible to perhaps a little more difficult. So, starting with talking about cooling it down itself, while appliances definitely help in cooling,
Sure.
there are also options that we can sort of explore that help in reducing the ambient temperature itself. Cool roofs is a very good option that can be used, especially for households and buildings that have terraces, and that has an immediate impact on reducing the temperature, ambient temperature, by a couple of degrees. There are different kinds of cool roof options, from solar reflective paints to also mosaic tiles and a whole bunch of other options that are there that can help in reducing the ambient temperature. When cooling is needed, and it is often needed, being mindful about how much and what appliances we are using and at what temperatures are we keeping our air conditioners at. Lower the temperature, higher is the energy use. And also, do we really need 18 degrees temperature when we are all huddled down in winter blankets, even in a place like Mumbai, because we've kept the AC at 18? 24 degrees is now the default setting that has come about. But if a little higher also makes more sense if you don't need that level of cooling.
So true.
Being mindful about electricity use as well. As a child, my parents were often used to scold me to switch off the lights and fans when not in use. As an adult, I completely understand and realize the importance of it, not just from a savings perspective, but also the impact that it has on incremental energy consumption. Where it's possible to use public transit or to walk, if that's an option that's possible. I also like to see, as a renter, to look for houses that have good ventilation, good natural light. This also impacts how much energy you actually end up consuming and using. For a more sort of uh, advanced option, I would say, installing rooftop solar in your society or in your building, your house, is also a great option. There's actually a government program happening on rooftop solar that's encouraging, that provides subsidies for installing rooftop solar at the household level. Um, in the vein of sort of reducing consumption and more efficient design, I'm hoping eventually that green buildings will become more of a norm than an exception. But this could also be a consideration for some potential home buyers or house buyers. Options can be limited, and house buying generally is anyway a more expensive and arduous task. But this is something to consider because it can have a long-term impact on both your well-being as well as on just how much of energy that you're consuming. And just a few last sort of concluding points. I think being more mindful about the consumption in general, how much are we consuming, not just about energy, but about things as well, and exploring options for upcycling, reuse. There are several now great, initiatives as well that offer to not purchase, that offer to take your old clothes, old electronics, so that they can either repurpose them or safely dispose them of. And exploring this a little bit more is definitely something that is easy to do. And this links to the next point that I have, which is educating yourself and paying it forward by sharing that knowledge with others. Simple tricks that can help contribute to a significant change. And lastly, demanding for better choices and options when they are not available. I think demand can definitely create um, change and can also help in boosting supply in places. So I'd end by saying educate yourself, organize yourself, and demand and agitate for more.
Madhura, I think I can safely say this, that you have armed individuals, entrepreneurs with so many ideas and so many options that even if one person adopts a couple of them, I think we will be able to make a huge difference. And we must, because that's the need of the hour. Thank you so much for putting everything so lucidly for me, for my listeners. I think we're all, energized very efficiently and take the goal ahead. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Saima, and thank you for hearing me out.
Before we move on, here is something interesting. We asked a few people what comes to mind when we say sun.
Thanda pani.
Drying my clothes.
Sunscreen.
Umbrella. Beach.
There, you see, sun means a lot of different things to each one of us. But one thing that we don't often think of is that it's an eternal source of energy. In talking to us today is Sishir Garemella, someone who has been working under the sun and harnessing its energy to help change lives and lifestyles for the better. Thank you so much, Sishir. I will start right away. Of course, some things are pretty obvious. The sun seems to be the most obvious source of clean energy. It's out there every day, and yet it seems that there are challenges or even reluctance to adopt it as one. What's coming in the way, according to you?
So I think what needs to be done for solar is to simplify the process of where does one buy the equipment, where does one get the service, how does one handle the electricity department. So some of these things get sorted with time, you will automatically see a lot more adoption, and that's already happening. The awareness levels are increasing exponentially, and simplification of people wanting to go solar, that process has already started. So that's why we're seeing the rise of solar at the best that it's ever been right now.
I remember, Sishir, when I was small, in one of those days, my father was a lecturer. He got a solar cooker, and that was so exciting and interesting.
Yeah.
And then I remember, my mother putting a pot inside that, and we would watch for hours that the rice is going to cook. And
Yeah.
I quite remember, adopting solar energy as a kid, but I thought it was so cumbersome and it was so time-taking that maybe the idea did not catch on the way it should have had.
Well, the nature takes time, right? So similarly, technology takes time. Just within my 15 years of working in solar, the prices have dropped significantly. So solar cooker was something that we used to learn about in school. But in reality, solar PV technology, the photovoltaic technology has, significantly reduced in price, making it more and more accessible to people. So there's an element of abundance of nature, but there's also an element of practicality, cost, being able to, practically put it in your day-to-day life. So it's only when both those things come together do you see more adoption.
Yeah, that seems more like it. So, is solar energy really the answer to some, if not most, of our energy crisis? If the entire world was to switch to this form of energy, hypothetically, how much will it help in cooling it down?
Right. Look, I think as someone who's worked in solar, I'd be heavily biased that every home and every business should have solar. But in reality, there are so many other ways in which we can tap into the gifts of Mother Nature, which is wind energy, tidal energy, hydropower. But then fundamentally, it comes down to economics, right? Solar is by far the cheapest form of energy, and there is the ability to be distributed. I mean, you can't put a little bit of a hydro farm on your home,
That's correct.
but you can put a couple of solar panels. So I think there is an element of intermittency. Solar doesn't work at night. So I think there will be a time very soon whether you'll see solar, you will see affordable batteries that can store energy and provide you energy when you need it. If you remember, you're talking about back in the day, you remember UPS systems when we were growing up, right?
Yeah.
So those were that's battery operated systems, but those were not solarized, and now they are coming in those in those forms. So when battery, solar technology, when I say technology, I mean software. When all of these come to interplay, and they're all in different times of their evolution, right? When it comes to affordability and adoption, but when all of that comes together, then I would be biased to say that solar is perhaps the most potent form of energy to solve both the environmental problems, but also electricity access to the people who don't have it. So they say that about one home is about saving 40-45 trees, equivalent of carbon set off. So I would say you have to watch this space through the lens of economics on top of whatever the mother nature has given us.
Like you said, the nature takes time to encourage people to go the solar way. Do you think that's a challenge we will have to do something so that when I have to use it for my, benefit, there should be something that should make it a little faster?
Right. You can go with EV. You can go buy yourself an electric vehicle. You can buy yourself a solar system for your home. You can have solar lanterns. LED revolution already took off in a big way in India. Now I don't think even we have regular tube lights or bulbs at home. They're all LED now. So I guess all I'm trying to say is that opportunities are available. You have an opportunity today to walk to work. You have an opportunity today, maybe not bike as much as India, in India, but you have an opportunity to stay close to work. So we have choices, and we have genuine renewable investment choices as well. The question is, whether you're in the frame of mind and also have the economic ability or the viability of it for you as a person to make those choices. But the choices are very much there already.
Right. It's quite interesting. I mean, it's all about the question of intent, I guess, and that's exactly what we need to develop. Sishir, I'd like
Saima,
to...
may I digress for a second
Sure.
to share a thought?
Yeah.
We've lived in Mumbai and Gurgaon as a family, and we recently moved to Hyderabad because the air in Gurgaon was not suiting my daughter. She's 4 years old. And to see her struggle for about 4-5 months in bad air quality.
Right.
Now, I've taken a personal choice. Obviously, professionally, Delhi NCR and Mumbai would be fantastic for me and my wife. But is that more important, or having a daughter with a decent set of lungs? We had to make that tough choice. Now, it's a personal choice, but we had to make it. And we recently moved to Hyderabad for reasons of air. So, these are some of the choices that we have to make on an individual level. And that's not something that can be prescribed or be prescriptive about. It's a lot to do with an individual's mindset and the choices and the values that they hold, actually, to be honest with you.
Exactly. Sishir, what are the opportunities that an entrepreneur can tap into in the solar energy space?
Right. Saima, I've been doing a lot of work internationally over the course of the last 3-4 years. And I'd like to say that post-COVID, the way work happens has changed completely. I think there is a tremendous value in building software, enabled products, SaaS, AI, machine learning. All of that has direct benefits within the space of solar and renewable energy that one can build products in India and sell within India and abroad. So the world has become truly flat. You can be anywhere, work from anywhere, and deliver your services anywhere. So I think one opportunity that immediately is available for Indians within India or anywhere for that matter is software. The other opportunity is generally ease of doing business has improved in India. So, and there is a China plus one strategy as well that's coming up now, which is why India is becoming a big base for manufacturing of solar products, upstream, downstream. When I say upstream, I mean even supply chain product, not just the solar module. And that's just not for solar, but across renewable energy, across electric vehicles. So there's a big opportunity in either the tech side, which is software, or on the manufacturing side. And the third opportunity, which is still coming up, and again, a very big area for entrepreneurs to look at, is carbon markets. Today you and I know about our credit score. We did not know this about 10 years ago, right? It was not as much of a known concept. I wouldn't be surprised if 10 years from now or even 5 years from now, we have a carbon score. What is my carbon score of having moved to Hyderabad and try to stay fit
That'll be
versus somebody who
interesting.
doesn't make those trips.
Yeah.
So, there is a whole world of opportunity out there if you see it from the lens of both from a technology standpoint as well as from a manufacturing standpoint, sitting just out of India.
And so that's for those who really want to cool it down their business. There are opportunities galore. And if you have the intent, I am sure, we will be able to make our mark there. But Sishir, as an individual, is there something that I can do in this moment from where I am to join in the efforts?
Correct. So there are two ways to look at this, one with an internal lens and one with an external lens. I'll speak about the external lens first because it is so much easier. I think, as I said, one should definitely go for solar on their homes. You'll be surprised that I've seen people with zero electricity bills for months together. So that is a direct saving that you can have.
Wow.
And, it's immediately available. Government has, tons of subsidies coming this way. So I think that's an immediate opportunity that one should evaluate. The second is if you drive a lot and if the economics work out for you, I think migrating to an EV, of course, there are certain concerns around charging and total cost of ownership and jargon aside. I think going with an EV has never been better. Again, a lot of government push subsidies on that. So these are the two maybe outwardly, changes that one can bring. But I think, as I said, Saima, most of it is internal. What health choices are you making? What food choices are you making? For cooling it down, you may have to slow it down a little bit, not be in a rush all the time. But some of these are what kind of a car are you driving? Is it can you stay close to where you live and work? Those combinations. So I think much of that internal lens is again based on a person's issues at that point of time and how their life situation. So that's not something that one can prescribe. But the choices of going solar or going EV for your home or for your business or for your housing society has never been easier. So I think those are choices that one can make immediately. But one can't wish for climate change to go away. One has to make discerning choices, and that can be both external as well as internal.
That's right. So yeah, we gather that you fell in love with the sun long back. Any plans of tapping the moon, or are you going to leave it to the lover's delight?
We have a Planet Earth book that I read to my daughter. And there's one page where there's the sun, earth, and moon. And we obviously start that evening reading exercise with saying that, she and I are on the earth. And then I say, I like the sun, and she says she likes the moon. So the moon is achievable. We've seen it with space scientists.
Right.
So let's see what the moon holds for us over the next 10 years of space exploration. But my focus is more on the sun and all that it can bring to us.
Solar energy all the way. Thank you so much, Sishir, for joining us. Thank you so much for giving us the direction to really go towards cooling it down.
Thank you, Saima. Thanks for having me.
It was lovely chatting with you.
Likewise.
Thank you, Sishir. It's enlightening to talk with you, and I'm sure our listeners feel the same. You've given us plenty to think about and, more importantly, to act on. And to everyone tuned in, remember that there is so much that we can do as individuals to make our homes more energy efficient. Collectively, these efforts can contribute to making our shared home, the planet, more sustainable. Start by being conscious of the appliances you use and the temperatures you set on your air conditioners. For the entrepreneurs out there, the opportunities are vast, whether in software, manufacturing, or carbon markets. Choose a business idea that won't just be profitable, but will also help cool things down for everyone. Let's create a future where success and sustainability go hand in hand. So that's it for today. This is your host, Saima, signing off for now. As we work towards making our homes more energy efficient, keep checking into this podcast where we put you in touch with more guests and more topics around unseen climate connections, business ideas, and actionable steps that we can all take.
Cool it down. Let's make it our business.